Well, I guess this is going to be almost the last video for tonight. It's 9:43 at night, still the 17th of May, 2023. It's still Wednesday. We were John C. Roseman, California. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Going over some of the comments concerning about the GOP's plan on limiting the SNAP benefits. I had to dig into it. Work requirements higher up to a certain age, higher than what they are, and what they considered full time, some of the employers would consider not full time. About 32 would be a maximum for full time, depending on what the U.S. Labor Department had considered. Now, they still consider it full time being 40 hours a week, 80 hours, 40 hours, yeah, 40 hour a week, 80 hours. But apparently, taking away money from people left and right who still need that to eat on. I've been reading some of the news articles as well. Family has to get by with $15 and has to get milk and pancake mix just so the kids don't get starving. I know how that feels. I know how it feels to be on a limited budget. I know how it feels to be on limited income. And I know what it's like to take care of people at the same time when you're on SNAP and not sure whether or not you're going to actually get any more money to pay for the rent or bills. Even if somebody else in the household is trying to pay or trying to use what they can to pay for a roof over the head, it's still hard to sell to deal with. And then, of course, you had to constantly go to food banks left and right almost on a daily basis just to get enough. Because sometimes the food banks may or may not have enough, depending on how many people are there and if you get there fast enough. Maybe before the doors open up, you can get in and get out. Now, here in California, there had been programs regarding the SNAP, and people had to use their SNAP benefits to get food out of certain stores, specialty shops that dealt with SNAP directly, not the regular markets. Sometimes the market prices will be a little higher than what their SNAP benefits can take. And if you actually had money on the card or actually food on it, then you'd qualify for the damn thing. But the hard part about this one is you would have to be in the same county as the card was generated in. That was a trip. That was a trouble a long time ago when I actually was living in LA County with my family, living in like Palmdale and Lancaster. I signed up for the SNAP while we're getting out from one place to another place within the boundaries of LA County. We were told we couldn't use them, but technically we still could use the card itself in the state of California because that's where it was at. But we still had to tell people that we were going up or back or wherever the hell we were going in the state. We didn't have that kind of transportation, but it limited people left and right to within the county to if you're going to shell out county bucks, put it back into the county. If you're going to use SNAP benefits from the county, not from the state, but it's from administered in the county, but they are SNAP benefits generated from the state. You still have to use them in the state, but preferably in the same county. The hardest damn part is when you're trying to go to the food banks. The food banks also had to keep track of what food was being given out to whom, when, and where. Every time you had to go to a food bank, you could fill out the paperwork. They want to know who you were. They want to know where the hell you are. They wanted to see your ID. Certain other food banks, yeah, they'll just give out the food basically because they weren't worried about that. But they still had to be accountable to the Department of Ag. U.S. Department of Agriculture. And they had to keep track of all of it. Now, they weren't going to jump on your ass if you came from another county over. Probably a one-time deal, and that's about it. Normally, they'd like to deal with the people locally in their neighborhoods. But if you're hungry, you got to go where it is. And sometimes you have to make changes and sacrifices. But they still have to be accountable. There are a few places that can actually stretch it out regarding legality. That knew that you were from a different county, but just barely next door to it. And then they realize you're coming across the border, but you're that close to us. So we'll give you some food, and we'll keep this going. Because we know. If you don't go to them long enough, and you kind of miss maybe about a month or two, you had to re-register and go through orientation classes all over again. And the other places just looked at the idea and says, okay, here you go. There had been a couple of times where some of them said, nope, you're not from this county. We can't do that. The government won't let us. The food is right there. We can't get it. But they hate turning away people who are hungry. So one time shot, that's it. Double it and then get them out of there. But then again, you got to show that you're living in the county, because if you're not, you're gone. SNAP benefits, when you got them, were a surviving situation. Before the COVID, if you had a certain dollar threshold, or if you had people in your household, or certain conditions that you had to meet, they would qualify you. But it wouldn't be enough. Family members, or if you had a lot of family members, they'd give you a lot of allotment. But when you're by yourself, and if you actually had Social Security with you, depending on how much you had, it depends on what the threshold is, which they can give you. Paltry few for me, because of the paltry few I get from Social Security. But I have to make that stretch, and I have to make that work. Now, speaking of work requirements, if you're actually able to work 80 hours a month, if you're almost working 40 hours a week and you still can't make enough because of the money, and a few other things that labor threw out there I just had an issue with. But this is what I got to deal with. This is the thing I have to deal with at this point. Because now, if we ever get this thing passed, where my food money is going to be going, and not to mention Social Security is going to be going under, what am I supposed to do? This is not entitlement. This is survival. There's not enough food giveaway places around here, and I have to go traveling like crazy just to go get it. I have to spend resources to get food resources. But then again, if I still had sufficient funds, I could still have to spend financial resources to get food resources. Now, I can do it on a survival basis by using the local market/liquor store. I'm not going to be the healthiest son of a bitch around there, that's for sure. But I am going to be fed. Pasta, cheese, butter, milk, eggs. If there are any grits, I can have that. If there's any cans of Spam, I'll have that too. Now, if they got cans or actually juice bottles, I'll have to make that stretch. If they have powders, which I'll doubt, but if they do, I'll be able to use those. If there's any cans of vegetables, I might have to use those as well. And you know what they have in the cans of soda, in the cans of vegetables? They keep them preserved. Sodium. Said before, I didn't say the healthiest. SNAP benefits will be able to get me those things. But I have to manage of how much I can get and how long the food's going to last. I have to stretch it all out. So that makes me royally concerned about this budget situation going on. I don't care if they were talking about the budget right after the damn debt ceiling has already been taken care of. But they got to do it at the same time with the debt ceiling, and this is what the GOP wants? To fuck us over, to screw us over one way or another? How to make us a living hell, that's for sure. They don't like it. They don't like entitlements. They think it's entitlements. But right now, all we're doing is just surviving. That's all we can do is survive. And I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say about this one, except we're all going to have issues. We're going to have issues over this damn thing, and I don't know how we're going to deal with this. I really don't. McCarthy is from the same district I live in, unfortunately. He's been an ass kisser, working his way up for God knows how long. Maybe within the past 20 years. But he's finally got to the big hole in the speakership. He's finally got that seat. And he can't do a damn thing. Except let the circus run the whole Congress. And he gave the circus power. Just to get that coveted seat, that ain't going to do anything to him. Or for us anyway, out here in Kern County. See, we're on the edge of Kern County and LA County. LA don't want us. Kern, well, shit. I don't know if they still need us or want us or not. So that's going to be an issue right there. But if McCarthy plans go through, the my SNAP benefits are gone to hell. I mean, I do qualify medically and mentally. That's no problem. And I'm also a college student, so those two things are okay. Once I get out of college, that's another thing, but it depends upon my mental and physical, whether or not I still qualify for SNAP. And I don't know what the hell I'm going to be able to do on a part-time job if it's going to be about 20 hours a week with less money coming in. I won't be able to afford rent. Or bills, for that matter, or food. I used to work part-time jobs a long time ago, but at least I had family to depend upon. We all depended upon each other regarding pulling our incomes together so we could survive. If we had good days, or actually we had good months and maybe a good year or two, we were actually able to do something. Maybe get a few more things in the household that we needed. Charge up the cards that we didn't. And still had to live through those damn things. It's a hell of a way to live, I'll tell you that much. But I can tell you that over the past 20 years, going under food stamps is the hardest damn thing to deal with. Now, even if I had actually worked at full time still over at Walmart, I was still qualified under SNAP because the pay really wasn't there, and struggling my ass off just to feed the family. My mother's Social Security paid for the rent. My brother's disability was trying to pay for some of the bills we actually had. And there have been times we had to keep going over to food giveaways. At least we were able to do that. We actually had a vehicle for that. But as of right now, I got no vehicle. As of right now, I don't have full-time work or any kind of work. I'm disabled. I'm also a college student. I can hear the stress from the other people when they're talking about lack of food. I can understand it when they're grateful to get that bag. I had been in food giveaways where some people actually grumbled about it, but other people were like, yay, they got this and they got that. They got milk. Rare thing. Boxes of them, but it was still enough to keep maybe about a day or two if you're lucky, depending on who's going to be drinking it all. Powdered milk even be better. Government cheese, the Velveeta stuff, noodles, big box of Spam. Hell, you could live on that damn thing for about 2 weeks or more. A few cans of vegetables, a few cans of fruit. The one thing I wish they had, but they never gave, coffee. Of course, you have to have sugar and milk with that one. So I have access to that right now as it is. I've got milk. I got sugar. I got coffee. But you can't live on that all the damn time. There have been times I actually gotten grits. Grits were good. You can make pancakes out of those damn things. Just cooking up in a pan, get a baking sheet or whatever kind of pan. Put the cooked grits in there, chill it out in the refrigerator about a few hours, if you're lucky enough to have a refrigerator. And you get this solidified grit stuff. Slice it up, take it out, take it out of the pan, slice it up carefully, grill it up. Makes a good breakfast that way. A little sprinkling of sugar on it or a little maple syrup. And the instructions would have been on the big bags of grits. The government issued grits. I remember getting different forms of meat from different giveaways. At one time they had a turkey roll. Processed turkey roll. Some of the stuff that you see in the delis. But, shoved right into a damn animal casing and then solidified, and you have processed turkey there. But you didn't gripe and grumble about the processed turkey because it could still be usable. You can still cook with it. You can still eat it. The SNAP benefits, you can get practically any kind of food item with it, as long as you had enough on it. But you also had to balance it out how much you were going to be spending for that time for the SNAP benefits. Depending on how much you were getting per month, you had to keep budgeting yourself left and right. Sometimes the paycheck is not covering up, and the SNAP is not covering enough of it either. Fruit prices keep fluctuating left and right, and when they keep rising up, you really, really had to go crazy on that one. There were stories that people had to water down their milk to even worse than non-fat just to give it to their kids. I even had to do that myself. You do what it takes to survive. You do what it takes to feed your gut. There have been some reports that people had to keep drinking liquids of different sorts to keep their bellies from growling in the middle of the night. I know how that feels. I know what it's like not to afford milk. Once you use your benefits or your money, you have to scrape like crazy, or sometimes you had to beg, borrow from people left and right. There have been police reports of people trying to steal food because they were hungry. See, this is the thing the GOP doesn't want to hear about or deal with it. People in Congress, people in the states, state governments, local governments, they don't realize the problems. They don't want to deal with the problems. They don't want to ignore it. They're the NIMBYs. Not in my backyard. Well, I had to tell these poor schmucks something. Sometimes their friends don't help them out much. Try going to these food giveaway places or even to the county buildings to actually give out the food stamps. And if you're lucky enough for a county or two to give you money, And the catch in the county on those things, especially LA County, is they start counting every damn penny you sell that they give you and that you use. They keep track of it. They're notorious. And where you spend it at. So you don't want the county money basically in their county. They don't want to spent in the county next door. Oh, they don't mind you using the food, but don't spend the county money. And are you going to be able to pay them back? See, you're borrowing money from the county at this point for survival. If you qualify for disability or retirement, okay. But if you're able to get a work, if you're able to get some kind of work, they want that money back. And they'll take it out of your paycheck. They will do that. All right. I think I talked enough on this thing. My message to those who think that SNAP benefits are an entitlement and Social Security is an entitlement, you got another thing coming, boys and girls. Wait until you're at a deficit and see how you're going to be able to function at that point. Because right now, we're getting to that point. And let's see how you'll be able to deal with this.